Hi, my name is Kostadis. I'm a technical director at NetApp. Today I'm going to talk about unified storage. So what is unified storage? Well, before I talk about it, it's worthwhile defining it. The four elements of a unified storage device are: one, it must support all protocols: fiber channel, iSCSI, NFS, and CIFS. Two, it needs to be a single piece of hardware. After all, you're buying a unified storage device. You're not buying unified storage devices. The third is you really want to have a single way of doing storage management. What do I mean by that? Well, when you buy a single unified storage device, you don't want to have to think about 5 different ways of carving up the storage. You want to think about one way of carving up the storage. And by having one way and having a single way of doing it, you get efficiencies because you don't have multiple distinct storage pools. And the fourth element is you want to have data protection. If you have data on a storage device, you need to protect it against site failures, you need to back it up, and you need to make sure that the data is highly available. All right, so what's NetApp's approach to building a unified storage device? Well, we have a very simple approach. You start off with a single device. Well, it could be a FAS 2000, could be a FAS 3000, or a FAS 6000. And then you can attach any protocol you want, and if you're using Ethernet storage, you can use a single wire to do that. If you want to support fiber channel, well, we also support fiber channel wires as well. Okay, then if you want to do to provision storage, what you do is you construct a thing we call the aggregate, and then you carve up that aggregate into multiple distinct volumes, and then you attach different protocols to those volumes. And then if you want to protect all of that data, you can use any one of a number of technologies independent of protocol, in which things like Metro Cluster for remote local HA, things like SnapMirror for site failures. And if you want to do extended backup, you can do things like SnapVault. And furthermore, because this is a unified storage device, we have a single way of doing snapshots, so you can support any number of snapshots per protocol. All right, now what's an interesting value that you can do? Because we support a unified storage architecture built out of unified storage devices, this is my robo infrastructure, and I want to replicate my robo to my data center. I buy a much bigger NetApp device. And that much bigger NetApp device could be a FAS 6000, for example. And I can then replicate all of that data to that FAS 6000 device, and I could use a product we call Multistore to carve up that FAS 6000 device into a bunch of distinct personalities, such that when I do a DR event from my robo to my remote office, I have the same IP addresses and I have the same configuration. And the other part about it is that I don't have a problem where data in here is visible to data over here. So this is a product we call Multistore. Okay, so let's go back to the definition of a unified storage device. Does it support all protocols? Yes. Is it a single piece of hardware? Yep. Is there a single way of doing your storage management? Yep. And does it have a single way of doing data protection across backup, restore, mirroring, and HA? Yes. All right, now let's compare it to the competition. So the competition's approach is you first buy a fiber channel array, which they call a Clarion. Okay. You then buy a gateway, another piece of hardware, which they call the Celera. All right. And then a Clarion is what you use for fiber channel, and you use iSCSI, CIFS, and NFS coming through the Celera. That doesn't really look like a single device, but at least it supports all protocols. Maybe things get better in the storage management space. Well, the way you do storage management is you first have to configure your LUNs. Okay. And then on top of the LUNs, you have to configure, in the Celera, you have to configure a file system. And inside of that file system, you can start provisioning things like iSCSI, CIFS, and NFS. So you have one storage pool over here, and you have another pool over here. Okay, well, that's not really a unified storage device. Well, maybe the data protection gets better. Well, so okay, so how do we do this? Well, if you're using a Clarion and you have fiber channel LUNs, because that's the only thing that supports fiber channel LUNs out of this architecture, you have mirror view. And if you're using Celera and you're using these products, you have to use the Celera replicator. And oh, by the way, the one detail I didn't mention is that iSCSI, CIFS, NFS, and the fiber channel LUNs have different ways of doing snapshots. Okay, well, maybe there's a single GUI to manage all of this mess. Well, that's not true either, because the Clarion's got one OS called the Flare. The Celera's got another OS called Dart. And the thing I didn't draw here, because I was running out of space, is they've got a management gateway that's running Linux. So you have 3 different operating systems you have to patch, maintain, and protect. You've got 3 different user interfaces. You've got 2 different ways of doing storage. You've got 2 different ways of doing replication. You've got 3 different ways of doing snapshots. And oh, by the way, you can only replicate like to like, so you can't do that nice consolidation you could do with our unified storage architecture. So let's get this straight. If I want a single unified storage device that supports all protocols with a single piece of hardware that has a unified way of doing storage management and does data protection, I could buy the NetApp device. Or if I want 2 pieces of hardware, one which supports one set of protocols, another which supports another one, that has 3 different ways of doing storage management and 6 different ways of doing data protection, I could buy the EMC device. If you want more, you can check out my blog, blogs.netapp.com/extensiblenetapp, which I'll just write over here. Thank you for your time.